And of course, look back through memory lane with all those incredible reels, and of course all the current ones like Blood and Chrome, Defiance, all the new shows that are coming out, all done in Lightwave. So coming up next, of course, today, the first day of SIGGRAPH 2013, we have announced 3 products. We have Lightwave 11.6, which is the latest upgrade, where we've been showing you all different kinds of new features that are included in that. We have 2 new products. One is a standalone product called ChronoSculpt, which allows you to sculpt deformations over time. And I'm going to actually ask Lino Grande to go ahead and come on up. And I thought one of the great ways to kind of bring you right into this demo is if we showed you the Chronosculpt teaser. But the last other product that I want to mention that we're also announcing here at the show is Nevron Motion, our motion capture retargeting plugin for Lightwave that is also available here. We have a side demo station that you guys can actually interact live and just step into a motion capture rig like you're seeing right there. We have someone enjoying themselves immensely, which is perfect. But without further ado, let's take a look at ChronoSculpt.
Okay, let's talk about some problems you may find when you're working at important projects using CGI. As a Lightwave user, so many times I've been dealing with very tight timeline, deadlines, and complex projects. What you normally have to do in that case is to find the fastest solution to solve any problem you may meet. So when you're dealing with VFX, you're dealing with dynamic simulation and character animation, all this kind of stuff that implies several steps of production. So sometimes you arrive to the last step of the production where you should just render the effect you're working on. And what happens? A deformation is not working properly. A simulation, dynamic simulation, is not following exactly what the director wants. So what I was doing as a Lightwave user was to use a tool we had in Lightwave called Edit Effects that could let you correct the problems you may find in dynamic simulation, and not only. So in us, the Lightwave 3D group, have decided to expand the concept of Edit Effects, and we have created this application that is called ChronoSculpt. What can you do with ChronoSculpt? Basically, when you're creating a dynamic simulation, you are you are working on a choreography. So that means that even if you're working on something that is driven by chaos, like a bridge collapsing, things like that, you want that collapse to happen in a precise way. Sometimes it's hard to get it, and being able to do something after the simulation has been calculated, it's very important. So let's take a look at what ChronoSculpt is. Basically, ChronoSculpt is an application that lets you sculpt over time. So we're not talking about a specialized sculpting application as can be ZBrush, which is specialized in characters, and we support ZBrush with GoZ. And we're talking about something different. We're talking about sculpting during time. So let's take a look at an example. I'm going to load an object here and a cache. So what you can do with ChronoSculpt is to import several cache files. We can deal with Alembic, we can deal with the Autodesk cache file, we can deal with the Lightwave MDD, which are all formats used to cache animation. So we have no bonds in this character, we have no morphs, we have nothing, we have just the object and the cache loaded. So as you can see, as I play through the timeline, we can see the actual animation. We're dealing with an object that is 1 million polygons object, so it's pretty big. If we go in wireframe, you can understand the density of this mesh. So let's see what ChronoSculpt let us do. We can, for example, we have a wolf cycle here of this creature. We may decide to generate different creatures, keeping the animation. So what I'm going to do is to go in setup mode and select the bulge option. So let's do some change to this character. I want to make the head different, more little. We could even drag parts of the character. So basically I'm creating a different creature. So back in cache mode, and as you can see, the changes I made now are propagating for the whole cache animation. This is really, really cool because, again, you have just created one animation, one creature. What you can do is to create several different ones. Of course, now I could save my cache in different formats. We have, again, the Lightwave MDD, the Autodesk Maya cache file. We can even save a frame to an OBJ or save directly the changes to an endomorph in the object, in the base object, or save in Alembic format, which is a very popular interchange format. So let's take a look at something different now, because, okay, this is a creature, but let's talk about dynamics. I'm going to load a simple dynamic scene. Let's take this in here. Okay, so we have several objects. Let's change the view to flat shade. And I'm going to drag the cache. So now I have this block smashing. I'm going to select the bowl and drag the cache of the bowl. So now we have this simulation. So if we take a look at the simulation, we may notice that there is one piece falling down, which is this one. Now, if the director would not decide is not liking this piece falling down the plane, well, it's going to ask me to do something, and I probably have to simulate again the dynamic simulation, which is something that is time-consuming. I'm going to tell the director, okay, come back some hours later. So what we can do in ChronoSculpt is to change the dynamic simulation without actually simulating it again. So what I'm going to do in this case is to use the pin option. So I want to pin this object in place here. All I have to do is to click on it. So now, as you can see, let's change the range here. As you can see, the object is stopping before falling, which is very useful in this case. We can change, of course, the way the interpolation is working here, so you can get a soft, stop. So this is something that's really, really useful. You can actually drive the dynamic simulation without having to simulate it again. Let's see something a little more complex, always about dealing with dynamics. In this case, I'm going to load this bridge animation. Okay. So what we have here, first, we're dealing with one object, but this is a fracture object. So as you can see, we have several pieces. In Lightwave, you don't need to have one piece per layer. You can have one layer with several parts. That keeps your project simple. And let's go in flat shade again. So this is the simulation. So this bridge is completely blown away by some kind of explosion or force. Even in this case, we may decide to, let's say we don't want this part of the architecture to explode, to be fractured. So we can select pin again and just drag the brush over. With shift, we may add parts. I don't want this to be selected, so if I play the animation now, what I get is that the bridge is collapsing. That part of the architecture is not. Well, we can see a part of the architecture going down. That's because I didn't select it, but I mean, we can fix it pretty easily. Like this. Okay. Okay, now we have a block here, but I can click on it and it's falling down. So we have full control over it. This is pretty cool and so useful. You can save tons of time in production. Of course, you can paint pieces and have them come back to the rest position. So if we play the animation now, they're still there. Something else we can do, always in setup mode, is to change the shape of the object. I'm using the drag here, so we can add some deformation to this, even big deformations. Like this. And now if we're going to, I don't like this, okay. If we're going to play the animation again, of course, I have to go outside the mode. What we get, it's a brand new simulation with a brand new object. So let's unpin everything. Let's go back to pin. So now we're going to break everything again. But again, anytime you can use pin to freeze the collapsing in that frame. So this is something that's a big time saver again. ChronoSculpt, of course, is not only for simulation, it's for any kind of cache animation. So let's load something. Let's show how it works with soft body dynamics. We have this cloth car here. So I'm going to load the car in. I'm going to load the clothes and the cloth animation. Let's go in smooth shade. So we have a very classic reveal scene here. There is this cloth that is revealing this car. But we can see there are some compenetration, because this scene was simulated with a different car, which was fitting perfectly. This is a different car. We don't have to simulate the scene again. Not once we have replaced the car, what we can do is to correct the deformation. So let's go in global editing mode here. Let's use again the drag. Okay. And what I'm doing now is to change the shape of the cloth. So now the car is perfectly hidden. And if we play, of course we can see there are still problems, but again, I can very quickly get rid of them. So without simulating again, very fast, very quick. Let's get rid of this problem here. And of course of this problem. That's pretty amazing. It's a big time saver. I can see it here, it's not perfect. And here. Okay. So, you know, we can tweak it. It's really fast. And finally, we have the results without calculating again the simulation. Exactly what we want. We didn't want to see the car before it's actually revealed. Let's see some other application, because okay, dynamics, that's a big problem to solve, and we can work with it in a great way. But let's go in an organic here. And let's see how we can change, we can tweak a facial animation. Let's load the eyes and load eyes and the teeth. Okay. Okay, so this animation has been created using Never Motion. I've actually captured my face doing this performance, if we can call it like that. But again, the Kinect is recognizing a limited number of expression. You can see your jaw opening, you can see your eyebrows going up and down, things like that, very simple. So what we can do in ChronoSculpt is adding something more to it. So let's do that. Let's choose this frame here, and let's say we want to add a variation to the mouth, to the side of the mouth. So what I'm going to do is to add this. I'm in global editing mode, that's not something I want, because we're going to see something interesting. What you can see is that now I have created a keyframe. So now we have this variation on the mouth. We can, of course, change the timing of this variation. We can change the interpolations that is sweetly in or out. So we have this. And we can, of course, do something more. We can add an asymmetrical movement here on the eye. That's maybe too much. So we'd like something more like this and like this. We can check immediately the effect of the change. We can do something like that, or here. And anytime we can drag the keyframes, so we can change the timing. This is maybe too much. Let's go. Okay. Let's add some big variation here. Okay. So we can go through the whole animation and really have this natural variations to the initial capture. Something else you can do, of course, is to, let's see, I've selected keyframe here. I can copy and paste this keyframe and drag it somewhere else in the timeline. So the same variation is applied somewhere else. I can do that with all the keyframes. Okay, this is not something I wanted to do. Okay, copy and paste. Let's go here. So we are in a different frame, and it works. So this was another sample. Of course, we can anytime save what we have as an endomorph or as an OBJ to be imported in Maya to create blend shapes. Let's take a look at something else now. We've said we can in ChronoScuplt we can edit caches, but we can even edit just an object without any cache. So I'm going to load this balloon fish without using any cache. This is a model made by Dino Mascitelli, our friend Dino. So there is no animation. What I want to do is to add some. So let's use what we have here. We can add some bulge. I'm going to do this kind of kind of variation. Of course, we have created some effect. So we can start from scratch, from just an object, and create some animation on the object itself. And let's do some dragging. We have symmetry that may work on any axis. So on the X, on the Y, so we can do this kind of effects. So now we have both the animation going on here. Let's add some more keyframes. Of course, I'm using a mouse, but you can use a Wacom tablet that is going to add a lot to the experience, especially if you're using pressure-sensitive tools like the Sculpt tool, like in this case, where you can add this kind of effects here. So from scratch, we have created an animation here. Big changes. We're dealing with 2 million and a half of polygons, which is a lot. You can take a look at the wireframe here. This object is pretty dense. So basically, ChronoScuplt is going to change the way you work. It's going to save tons of production time. And if you have, we are very tight in your deadline, and you have this kind of problems, you can solve them with a click. ChronoScuplt is available in pre-release at a SIGGRAPH special at $299, and it will be $399 after SIGGRAPH. So grab it because it's the right chance to do that. And it's, again, you can immediately purchase it both here at SIGGRAPH or online on our website on lightwave3d.com. So that was all about ChronoScuplt for now, and stay tuned for other presentation about it tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Right on. Thanks so much, Lino. As usual, an outstanding demonstration.
Thank you.
Job well done.